One.
Good evening.
I'll be in.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Maple Heights Board of Education. This is our regular board meeting. It's Monday, April 28th, 2025. We're located at 5740 Lawn Avenue. In the boardroom, the time is 6:07 p.m. Going to appoint Ms. Moore as the Treasurer Pro Tem, and Mr. Sluka would call the rolls and take minutes for the meeting. Can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, Mr. Sluka, can we have a roll call,
Yes.
please?
Mr. Blackwell,
Here.
Mrs. Shepherd, Mrs. Cheeks,
Here.
Mrs. Granger,
Here.
Mrs. Moore.
Here.
Thank you. Now we'll have our report from the superintendent.
To President Blackwell and to all board members and Mr. Sluka, good evening. I just have a few district updates. I cannot believe I counted down the days. We have 22 days left of school. So it's going to be a whirlwind from here. Just for the public, I just wanted to acknowledge that our graduation is going to be on May 20th at 7:00 p.m. at the Wolstein Center at Cleveland State. Also tomorrow, we're having our top 20 scholarship recognition at the high school. And for our parents out there, we have several end of the year events and activities. So we welcome you to join us for those. We do have a presentation tonight. We have been saying to the board that we were going to just give an update on our early childhood / preschool program, what the current state is and what we're thinking for next year with the proposed model. So I'm going to ask Dr. Shay Price, our Director of Curriculum, to come up, and you have a copy of the PowerPoint there, and there's also one on the screen.
Good evening to all the board members, to all of our staff, family, friends, community members that's here. Thank you for being here. I do have our little presentation about early childhood. Like Ms. Delafleur said, just want to give some updates and go over a few things. And then we, are you?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, thank you. So basically, if you see on the presentation, this just talks about the importance of preschool, and it quotes a statement from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, and then there's also a big statement at the bottom. So what this generally is just telling us the importance of preschool in Ohio, that is critical for parent children for their future success. I think the biggest, the stat at the bottom says that research shows that children who attend preschool have improved academic outcomes, including higher reading scores and greater math proficiency. I think that, sums it up and says it all about the importance of preschool, especially since so much is being required of kindergartners these days. It's not like kindergarten, okay. That's okay. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So, like I was saying, especially because the preschool or the kindergarten requirements are, much different. It's not like you come to kindergarten just to make friends and, play and those things. There are, there's definitely assessments that come along with it, making sure students are on track. And if they're prepared better in preschool, you tend to see better results in kindergarten, okay? So that's just the importance of it. So currently, preschool in Maple Heights is housed at Abraham Lincoln Elementary. That's at our pre-K 1 building. And right now we have 3 special education classrooms, and they house 8 students per session. There's an AM session and there's a PM session, okay, currently for the SPED students. There's 1 teacher and 2 paraprofessionals in those settings. And then we have 1 general education operating half day. There's an AM session, there's a PM session, and the max you can have is 20 in each session, okay? There's one teacher, and there's 2 paraprofessionals for that also. Then we have 1 full-day class. And there's 1 teacher there, 2 paraprofessionals, and the capacity is 24. We only have 1 full day, okay? That's the way it looks right now. That's what we have. So really, we only have 1 full day option, and the capacity is 24 for that. Everything else is half day right now. And then for transportation, families have to provide their own transportations to and from the program unless they receive transportation in their IEP. Okay? And then currently for preschool, you can see a comparison between last school year and this school year. So last year we had a total of 103 students. This year we have 100. And you can see if they're supported by ECE, which is for those who come half-day general ed, is supported by ECE. Okay, and currently right now we have 29. I told you we could have a capacity of 40, 20 in the AM, 20 in the PM. And what we've learned over time, a lot of people don't really like the PM session because it's really short. You know, if you're going to work and you have you know, you don't have transportation to pick your child up or to drop them off, it's not feasible for parents. That's kind of, you know, what we've heard. So you can see the numbers there is shorter because we do have spaces open in our PM session, but after a certain time, we cannot fill it to stay in compliance with the ECE grant. And then we have our special education students. We have 46 currently. And last school year, we did have to open a 3rd special education class. We only had 2. Last year, maybe about 2 or 3 months into the school year, we had to add a 3rd one. We didn't have it. Prior to that, we've only had 2. And then you can see for general education how many totals, and that includes ECE and full day for the general ed. So our current preschool staffing, we have 1 preschool coordinator, 2 general education teachers, and 3 early childhood intervention specialists, and 6 paraprofessionals. There's usually 2 per class. Sometimes we have had 3 depending on the need in the classroom. So that's how it is right now. And then Ms. Delafleur is going to talk to you a little bit about our proposed model for where we're looking to go to, and then she and I'll tag team from here on out.
Thank you, Dr. Price. So we, along with my team, have been having lots of conversations around preschool and some of the challenges that we have discussed, including, you know, as Dr. Price mentioned, some of the half day, we feel like we might be missing out on some students because we're not able to offer the full day. So our proposed model is that we actually continue to have a preschool supervisor, and also our pre-K classrooms to be redesigned to follow a more inclusive model. So we do, you know, have peer models of gen ed in with our students who have special needs. So that would give us 4 classrooms servicing up a total of 70 students. So we'd have that 1 inclusive classroom for 3 and 4-year-olds, and then 2 special education classrooms. Also, students must be 4 years old by September 30th unless they're receiving special ed services. Students are expected to maintain regular attendance. Those with excessive absences may be removed from the program. So really making it a part of the enrollment process when we bring in our preschool families to talk to them about the importance of attending, because we sometimes have students that come and then they don't really attend. So that's basically taking up a seat for a student who could be in that spot. Also, it's just really important, and a lot of times parents don't think that preschool and kindergarten and first grade, those younger grades, are important, but they are extremely important both for the academic piece and really the social piece of school. And then our pre-K program will be implementing the Amplify preschool curriculum to align with our district adoption of the CKLA K-5, as well as our science of reading requirements. So basically revamping, coming up with common curriculum that is also aligned to the CKLA for grades K through 5. Possible new additional expenses. We'll have to review and revise the job description for the preschool supervisor. At one point, this was an administrative position. It's been revamped, and so we're going back and forth to weigh the pros and cons. of, you know, the old position versus what it needs to look like as we move forward. Also hiring an additional early childhood teacher and 2 additional paraprofessionals to cover that additional classroom. And obviously, this will be based on enrollment numbers. As you know, we did something a little bit different this year with the March into Preschool and Kindergarten. We combined that event. We also did a webinar, so we had several parents join that. We posted that to our website, so even if parents couldn't join the webinar, they could still get the information. So we have received those enrollment registration forms. Now the second step is for us to go through and determine, like, if we have students with special needs on that list, also to make sure that students are residents in Maple Heights before we move forward with that. We already talked about purchasing of the preschool curriculum. Right now, we don't have a unified preschool curriculum, so we would need to move towards that. And then purchasing additional furniture for the classrooms. And I asked the question because, you know, lots of school districts have furniture that might be not used in another classroom. But for a lot of the preschool stuff, it has to be up to a certain code expectation. So we may have to buy things that are specific for the preschool classrooms.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the different funding sources for preschool. It's the ones that we use currently in Maple Heights. I do want to make a correction. Ms. Honeycutt came through to help us out. There's 9 total paras in preschool because some of them have 3. That's what some classes do have 3 depending on the severity of the needs of the students in the class. So there are 9 that we consider preschool. So I just wanted to make that correction. Thank you, Ms. Honeycutt. So currently for funding, we use ECE, that's what we have here first, that's our early childhood grant. And that grant comes from the state and it helps families that are at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. This year, some major changes took place to ECE. Before October 1st of 2024, if you came to a school district and you wanted to qualify for ECE, the school district was responsible for taking all of your pay stubs and seeing if you were eligible for that. The state has changed it now and put it in the hands of the jobs and families. And so what happens now is parents have to go on to a specific website and apply for ECE to see if they qualify or not. Now, the grace they did give us to say was we can still enroll the student if we want to. It's our district's decision. We can enroll the student. However, it may be a backlag on when they get approved or not. If they are approved, they will back pay us, long as we've had them in there. If they're not approved, it's up to the families to provide the back pay if we're going to ask them for it. So we try to be, really, really specific about telling parents, if you're going to qualify for ECE, you have to go on and apply for it because it's out of our hands. We can't do that. That the state has turned it over now to the county. Okay, and so that's one way. Currently, ECE funds half day. That's the half day general ed that we were speaking of. The state did do some pilots with some schools to see full day funding for ECE. We were not one of those. I don't know anyone who had the full day ECE funding, but there could be some more funding for full day. But right now, they do not fund it. They only fund for a half day portion. Okay. So then we have public funding, which comes from the Department of County and Children and Youth, which is what ECE is done through now also. And so this helps eligible families while they either working, attend school, or participating in job trainings. This is where it may be a copay. They give you a prorated based off where you fall on the federal poverty scale. Okay, so that's an option. We became a PFCC school, so you had to do that to receive ECE. When they made the new training, you had to become a PFCC school because when the parents apply, they may say, no, you don't qualify for ECE, but you do qualify for PFCC. So that's a whole state thing that have changed now. And then finally, we have additional funding. We have preschool special education funding, which there are some state versions of that and some federal versions that come in, and there's some numbers and ratios that they use to provide how much funding we get. based off the number of students that we have. And then, of course, we have private pay for families over 100% of the federal poverty level. Currently, those families pay they pay $400 right now. If you're 100% over the federal poverty level, you pay $400. Okay? Then, the next page is the preschool tuition. So, we are proposing that our monthly base tuition increase from $400 to $650, which is a $250 increase. It will be prorated for those families that are between 101 and 200% between that federal poverty level. And then ECE, parents who are below it would qualify for ECE. But remember, if we're gonna move to that full day model, we will still be responsible for that other half that has to be paid for a full day. So whether that's the district, or if we're using Title I funds, or if it's private pay, whatever it is, currently ECE only covers half, okay? So they may be approved for a portion of that $650, but we, the district or the parent, will still be responsible for that other half. Now, we could set what that is based off that federal poverty level, which is what we plan to do. So if you take that scale and say 650 is the base, this is what you pay based off how much you make, this is what you pay, this is what you pay, and that's currently what we do right now, because kids that attend full day, their parents either pay $400 or $289. Those are the two costs that they pay. And that $289 is a prorated rate of that $400 based off where they fall on the poverty level. Okay? Now, we talked about the tuition increase to help cover teacher salaries and benefits, to cover resources for the program, because right now we aren't basically taking in what we're putting out. And so we've kept that $400, I guess, for a long time now, because that's what it's been since all the records that I see. But we didn't take into consideration that people's salaries get higher every year. You know, you need more resources each year. So we've never increased based off that. So, but if we're gonna say we're gonna go to more full day inclusive models, we're gonna need more resources. So that we're proposing a $250 increase there. Okay. Now, one thing that I do want to say before we take questions is, in order to receive ECE, you have to be in good standards with Step Up to Quality. Okay, so Step Up to Quality is kind of what drives everything for preschool in the state. You may used to seeing it like it was based on a 5-star rating. So if you drive around even in the neighborhood, for people who have like daycares or anything, you may see they used to say this is a 1-star daycare, this is a 2-star. So our preschool program has been a 5-star. However, they changed the system for Step Up to Quality. Now it's a rating, and gold being the highest. So we are a gold-rated preschool right now, okay? And so to do that, you have to keep everything in line with Step Up to Quality. Meaning, you have to have the curriculum that they agree with. You have to have the ratios that, they say. You have to do all these things. You have to have certain size desks. That's when the licensing people come. We couldn't use kindergarten furniture, which is what Ms. Delafleur was asking when she asked earlier, like, why would we need new furniture if we're using the classes? Those classes are right now kindergarten size classes, because Abraham Lincoln really wasn't intended to have lots of pre-K when the school was built. There was only a certain number of pre-K classes there, so the rest are kindergarten or first grade, and that furniture doesn't work. We would be in violation of that. So you have to replace the furniture. Okay, so right now we are gold rated preschool. And, in order to keep that, we have to follow along with their guidelines. I do want to say that Step Up to Quality is changing for next school year. So everybody has been in safe harbor this year because they've changed a lot. So with the rating system and then their requirements, they put everybody in safe harbor. So nobody got a Step Up to Quality rating this year, but going forward next year, we will. Okay? So that's all I have, and that's where we can take questions.
Does anyone have any questions at this time?
I do.
Okay.
I got a question too.
Go. You go first.
You said y'all took like some applications and stuff already?
For preschool next year?
Yeah.
So what we did was we did an interest survey. We put out an interest survey to families to say, fill this out, if you're interested. And if we get over a certain number, we would have to do a lottery. If we don't, we'll just take everybody that we have. And
So,
we
would
haven't met the capacity number yet.
So then do you think it's worth like adding extra classrooms if we haven't met it?
Well, that's why we said those new things will be based off enrollment. So there are additional numbers in the survey, but they don't match what we based this off originally. We based it off 70 students, and so far we're not there yet, but there is around 40 or 50. So we know we're gonna have to have an additional classroom if we go that route. But we just didn't wanna go full in and say, yeah, we're gonna add that many people when we don't know. So it definitely will be based on enrollment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, my question is, are you guys going to apply for the UPK grant that we normally would use?
Yes.
Because
We-
would that also help cut down the cost?
That
of that
definitely would
650?
help cut down the cost for salary,
Salary.
because you can't use UPK for salaries unless you're
Yeah.
non-public school, but
Yes.
it goes towards other things, so it's like you can't pay for salaries, but you can pay for this. So the answer to that would be yes, but we can't apply to 2027.
Okay,
So in 2027, absolutely, yes, we will apply for it. And that will
Okay.
definitely help the district a lot,
okay,
yeah.
all right. And the 650 that you guys are wanting to increase the cost with, will the families be able to afford that? I mean, if they're already at $400 and they're paying $285 or whatever it is a month or whatever, however you determine between $285 and $400, will our parents be able to afford $650?
So some will and some will not. So it's just like right now, you have parents who pay the $400, you have people who pay the $289. So it just depends on who the parents are. We do have parents that can pay the $650 based off the analysis that we did, if you looked at the current students. When it comes to,
What
When-
analysis that you guys use to say that these parents can pay for the $650?
so they used to turn in their check stubs and those things before we just went to this new system.
Okay.
So we look to see, like, there's people who, we allow people to come in if you work in the district, so there's people who work in the district that have kids there that's
Okay.
paying $400 that could, based off
Okay.
that scale, pay for it. Now, I'm not saying it's 50,
Yeah.
because clearly, there's gonna be some gaps, but that's where hopefully the PFCC or the ECE would kick in for them. And then we, as a district, will be looking for how we can cover for them for the other half, because there will be a lot of families that qualify for ECE, and one half will be totally paid for them.
Okay.
Yeah, so there will be that.
So the ECE is a voucher? Is that the same as a voucher?
It's not, but it's kinda like that.
Okay, so if you going by the ECE and then a person have a voucher, can they use that in place of it? I
No.
mean, with that?
You can't
So-
use both. You see,
okay.
that's why before you could, because it was a grant that just came directly to us, and I could say, this kid is counted as ECE for me, but they also get a voucher and you could take that, but we didn't because of ECE. Now, the way they've changed it, when you apply, ECE is gonna say, no, you need a voucher, or you can get ECE. They do it. It's totally out of our hands now. Because what was happening is they actually said just that. People were getting vouchers and using ECE, and it was an overusage of funds is what the way they said it. So it's not like that anymore. But yes, we can take the voucher, but you won't be able to get ECE with it also.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have another question. So if they gotta go through them to get the funds approved and all of that, will they pay us out, or how will that work? Because I know before, like, parents used to come in and pay it at the desk some of the time, or a long time ago, like.
Yeah, so two things what I want to back up to say is, even when we had UPK specified that you have to charge a tuition portion. So that's why either you pay $400 or $289. Even when we had UPK, parents still had to pay something there. So what happens is, that portion, we bill them, basically. But what comes from ECE, they pay us. So like, for instance, we still have 3 kids that's on UPK scholarship, because they had it previous years or if they were somewhere else. And so I have to submit their attendance and then they send us a check for them every month. So they, they go back and pay us. But we have to keep attendance in their system. They have a new system and everything. It's called TAP, Time Attendance System. So we have to use their system to take attendance. And when we do that, they'll pay us back. Yeah. So, but one thing we have to just tell the parents, we want to make sure you get approved. So you know that if you don't get approved, this is what the cost is. So that's why we want to start it early, letting people go ahead and apply. We had it at the Marshall Kindergarten. People, they've been calling the office every single day about it. So we have a QR code that takes them directly to that site. This is where you fill it out because we want to be ready when we start. So that's what I was saying earlier. I don't want it to be a case where we enroll the student, they apply. If they qualify, they will back pay us. But if they don't qualify, they're going to owe us money. And so, we have to be able to say that you have to pay or you're going to be removed from the program. Because what we see right now is there are some discrepancies right now that we're trying to clean up where people aren't paying the $400 or the $289 in that program. And so basically what it boils down to, we want to do what's best for our students. We want to do what's best for our families. And we want to be able to provide a great pre-K experience that can help them in the future. However, if we're going to set those things to say, this is how much you have to pay, it has to be expected because really that's coming out the district. So we're really putting out more than we taking in. Whether you have UPK or ECE or not, we're paying more as a district than's coming in. So before we move on to something grander, so say we're going to add, more full day courses to that, that's why we're, want to have this discussion because we're going to, if we don't increase to $650, we're going to be putting out more money.
I got one more question. The students that are enrolled in daycare that if they go half in the morning and they come to our district in the afternoon or vice versa, are they going to be able to still continue to do that based on the new guidelines that they set up in order for them to receive their vouchers or receive this ECE grant? Because I know there was some rules that said that if they enroll in daycare using a voucher, they couldn't do both. They couldn't do us and they couldn't do them. They have to stay at daycare all day. Or if they do here, we have to cover them all day.
So that's where ECE kind of kick in. But if we're going to go full day, they would stay with us full day.
Okay.
They would be here the full time. And that's why we're saying, but they couldn't give us a voucher for the other half. ECE is going to cover them for one half, but they can't give us a voucher for the other half. So we have to figure out how we're going to cover that, which is why we're saying we want to make an increase on the tuition. So we can cover students to be able to attend for full day. But yeah, if they came, they wouldn't have to leave. And honestly, most of our families want the full day because it's more convenient, But right now what's happening is if you're not fortunate enough to get in those 20 a.m. spots, nobody really wants that p.m. because that's like from 1 o'clock to 3, nobody really wants that. And so it's hard to fill those evening spots. And so we're saying to make it better for our students and our families, we want to have more full day options. And so they wouldn't go to a daycare then if we did that.
Okay.
Now, they could do this. They could go to a daycare for after school care with the voucher if they stayed with
I know you would
us.
have to provide the AM preschool before and after care.
And you can use a voucher for that. Even if they got ECE for us, they can use their voucher because it's not the same program. That's what they want to allow, as long as it's not the same program. And even for because basically the state is trying to cut back on one child receiving 2 or 3 things. I think there's some rules around if they allow it, like if both parents have custody of a kid, the father could get his own, the mother could get her own, but they don't want you to use multiple funding sources at one place, not those, but there's other funding sources that you can kind of combine. That's it?
So-
Okay, I'm sorry.
So the current total is it 6 pairs or 9 pairs?
It's 9,
Okay.
yeah.
So with the new proposal,
We still would need those 2.
So
We
you
still would
still
need
need the
those
2.
2. Mhm.
Okay. Also, So the coordinator, will the coordinator become the supervisor?
Yes, it would
Okay.
be a swap. We just need to review the roles and responsibilities
Okay,
because it got changed throughout the years.
okay. Okay, and have you guys got a guesstimate on what the additional furniture would be for the 2 classrooms?
I don't have it with me, but when we got the last classroom last year, I had the cost for all the furniture, so I can just look right there and see how much it is, and I can't get that to you, so I apologize for that. I didn't think about getting the cost for the furniture, but I can get it,
Okay, thank you.
if I could do that.
And you'll incorporate the higher charges with the inflation and all that in it? 'Cause
Yes,
The prices, okay.
Okay,
All right.
yeah, I can do that.
I would like to just add 2 points of clarification from the discussion that's been had. The majority of our families are at this 200% level, the majority. And then the other thing that I was gonna say is, we're thinking ahead is why we say we may have this additional expense to add a teacher, because what we also know is that for a lot of our families, they may come in September or they may come in August. Like, we're trying to reach families ahead of time, but we're saying in thinking ahead, where if we, obviously then if people find out, hey, we're gonna offer they're offering full day at Maple, that we might have more families come and want to enroll here with us for full day.
That it?
Thank you,
Okay.
Dr. Price.
You're welcome.
Was that all for you?
Yep, that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right. Next, we'll have a report from the treasurer.
Thank you, President Blackwell. A few things I'd like to go over. First is the financial report. I put a summary at your table, or at your place. I also sent the email out just to highlight the items in the financial report. The big thing was there were some, negative balances that you see there. Most of it is federal grants. We need to do PCRs to cover those grants. And just to reiterate, before we can send in a PCR in, we have to spend the money first and then ask for reimbursement versus them giving the money up front and then using it. So you'll likely see those in a negative and monthly because we do the PCRs after we close the month and with the negative balances. The other one that's negative is the 300 fund. We will need a transfer from the general fund to fiscal year end, and most of that's in the athletic, which is common to all school districts. I mean, the athletics just do not generate enough to cover the costs, but that's not the thing. So the general fund will need to submit that or supplant that with a transfer at the end of the year. There's also the summary report that kind of breaks down the whole 300 fund, and you could see where the big negative balance is in the athletic. So we just want to get those costs at the end of the year, and then we just have to do one transfer to cover it all rather than try to piecemeal it. The biggest thing is on there is the tax rate resolution, and I want to go over that with you. The tax rate resolution is a requirement that the board needs to certify the tax rates to the county auditor per Ohio law. The county, we don't have a county auditor, we have a county fiscal officer, and the county fiscal officer determines the tax rates based on the type of levies that you have here in the district. And currently, the district has 3 current expense levies, an emergency levy, bond retirement levy, and a permanent improvement levy. Based on those levies, the county will offer their recommended tax rates for the board to approve and certify back. And it's based on the valuation of what's needed. There's 2 caveats that I want to point out to you is current expense levies are what the voters voted in on, so that's kind of subject to House Bill 920, and they look at that, the reduction factor, but usually it's the voted rate in. The emergency levy is basically a voted in rate, but it was based on a dollar amount. So when you vote an emergency levy and approve it, you approve that dollar amount, you don't approve a levy amount. And so what the county fiscal officer is telling the district is, okay, how many mills would they need to charge to equal the dollar amount of the emergency levy? So in the previous year, it was 21 mills. Now, with the increase in the valuation from revaluation, the county is recommending dropping that down to 14.6 mills to generate the amount of the emergency levy. So that's a significant drop. The other one that is a slight drop is the bond retirement. The county is required to charge the tax rate millage that will reduce the debt in that fiscal year, in calendar year. So what they need to do is whatever we certify over in the tax budget, then they need to charge that tax rate over. So they are recommending reducing that from 13.2 mils down to 9.5 mils, everything else being the same. So really, there's a reduction in the tax rates to the community of 10.3 mils, which is theoretically should be a reduction to their taxes. However, the caveat is in a revaluation year, while you have 10 mils reduction for most taxpayers, you also had an increase in your valuation of your property. So what ends up happening is if it increased more than the average, you're going to see either a negative or an increase in taxes, even though there's a 10 mil reduction. So I just caution the community to say, yeah, we're taxing less as a school district, but you saw an increase in value, so you might not see that increase in your, or decrease in the amount of property taxes you pay. I will say this, though, it is good news that there's a lower tax millage being charged to homeowners, and I'm hoping that most of the homeowners will see a slight reduction in their school taxes based on that. The other things I wanted to point out, two other things that you're at your place setting is I saw that we get the quarterly investment report, so I want to go over that. You'll see that in the reconciliation, there's an investments. I like to do an investment report just to show where the money's being invested. And just to also reiterate to the public is that you can see that we're investing in U.S. Treasuries, government agencies, insured products, commercial paper, money market funds. These are safe investments and approved by Ohio law. I also want to point out that most of it is zero. Yeah, this one pager, sorry. That's my bad. It wasn't part of the package. This was a separate one out. The one pager is most of our investments are 0 to 2 years, which makes us very liquid. We do have some that go out 2 to 3 years, 3 to 4 years, and 4 to 5 years. But once again, Ohio law says you cannot go more than 5 years for a school district. So I just wanted to point that out, that we're not going 5 years. But I personally like the 0 to 2 years. I like to remain liquid just in case there's any issues with the emergencies that come up and you have the cash in hand to be able to handle those. So, but we're laddered very well. And just to give you a summary of where the majority of our investment's going. The other major investment's in Star Ohio, which is a state-run fund, and it's very liquid. It's almost like a money market where it goes in and out based on the interest rates. And then the last thing at your place setting is the PAFR, this report here. We just got this in. I'm not sure why it took them so long. This is from fiscal year 2024. While it's maybe a little outdated, it has good information in it, and we will get this up on our website on the treasurer side. It has good information just to show, where our revenues come from, where our expenditures are going, the property taxes and state funding piece, and it's a nice piece of information for the community to look at and give an overview of the district's finances. So, and I think it's a nice report. So we'll get, like I said, we'll get this up on the website. I might have got lost somewhere so we'll get this up. I know it's a little bit late, and I'm sure the next treasurer will be wanting to do a PAFR herself. So it's a good thing for the community, and it also has some highlights on the back page. It's not just financial, just some of the, academic information, employee numbers, student numbers, enrollments, just some basic information about the school and the recent accomplishments, which is a good thing to get out there, because I don't think people really hear all the good things that are going on here at Maple Heights School. So that's a good thing to point out. With that, I will take questions.
The next time that you do the cash summary report,
Yes.
can you just make sure that you run the reports so you can include those grants so they can see what the lines look like, so it shows a negative?
Yeah,
'Cause
there's
they
some,
won't, yeah, they probably not familiar with what the cash summary looks like, so,
it should be, it's in the, I think it's in the package. It looks like this report.
yeah, so if they
So
could
that
just-
report, yeah, so what I will do next time is, and I did this actually so I could tell how many.
Yeah.
I will put a highlight in the line item for those funds that are all in the negative to show each one. And, and I will also, put the title out in my summary of what those funds are. You see a fund number, that's why I like to put that out there, but I will highlight that, because there's a lot of funds here, and you just try to go through and you see. Keep in mind though, and I say this, and the fund balance is the key one, not the unencumbered balance. The fund balance is the key one for revised code purposes of having negative balances. So an unencumbered balance is just showing the encumbers there, but I will highlight those in the next
Okay.
report, and then you can see and have a visual on that, because it is a very kind of like,
Yeah, because
know,
they look
done
at
it.
this report and they won't understand what
yeah,
that is.
I can do that, absolutely.
Anyone else have any questions? Ms. Luker? All right.
Yeah, the first one we have up is the approval of the minutes, and then the financial, and then the
Yes.
tax rates.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 14th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Ms. Moore?
Ms. Luker?
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Granger?
Yes.
Ms. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. All right, and we also need a motion to...
Motion to approve the financial report, and then
Financial
we'll take the
report. Yes.
tax rate separately too, please.
Okay. Can we have a motion to approve the financial report for the month ending March 31st, 2025?
So moved.
Any discussion?
Mrs. Moore?
Luker?
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mrs. Granger?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. And next is Resolution C. Number 2524, resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county fiscal officer. Can we have a motion to adopt that resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Luker, can we roll call, please?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Cheeks?
Yes.
Ms. Granger?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Right. Next is a motion to approve the agenda. Have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Luker?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Granger?
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. All right, next is new business. Subject A, Northeast Ohio Network for Educational Technology, NeoNet. Internet Access Service Order and Master Agreement. The superintendent recommends approval of the Master Service Agreement and the Internet Access Service Agreement with NeoNet to provide internet services for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2030, as well as cabling for additional wireless access points throughout the district for federal reimbursement up to 85% in the amount of $111,840. Any discussion about this? Seeing none, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Luca, can we have a roll call?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Granger?
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Next is subject B, license agreement for 2025 graduation, Cleveland State University Wolstein Center. Superintendent recommends the approval of the license agreement for the Wolstein Center at Cleveland State University for facilities for the 2025 Maple Heights High School commencement in the amount of $13,650. Any discussion regarding this?
Nope.
Can I have a motion to approve the license agreement?
So moved.
Mrs. Luca, can I have a roll?
You got a question?
Mrs. Moore?
Oh, no?
Yes.
Ms. Granger,
I'm
sorry.
Why do we go away from using our facilities again?
Because of the rain and the heat. That was the only reason. Because when we had it inside, it was hot.
Fix that, cause that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
We got the facilities to hold that. Like, I don't get it. Like, we did the graduation on the football field before. That was nice, and we did it inside a long time ago.
Yeah. The only thing about having it inside was the heat.
I thought we
People-
fixed those things.
There's no air conditioning in it. That's the only thing. In the summertime, I guess they were saying there's no air conditioning. So it's gonna be hot if we have it inside. But as far as having it outside at the stadium, it wasn't a problem.
What about like the fans or something? Didn't those get fixed? They said it was like
I
9
don't know.
of them broke or
Mawada's not
something.
here, so we can't
Okay.
ask.
Yeah, I think that's a question that we can
Yeah.
definitely ask for
Next year.
2026, yeah. Just see, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
I'll take that back to my team.
It is.
Oh, any other questions? Mrs. Luca, can I have a roll
Mrs.
call?
Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mrs. Granger?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Okay, next is subject C, amplify M-Class intervention. The superintendent recommends approval of a 2-year agreement with Amplify for professional development and implementation of the M-Class intervention program in grades K through 6 for the amount of $124,947.20.
Can you explain this again?
Yes. So M-Class, what we're trying to do is get something for, it's really K-5. Actually, we need to make a correction to that because we're only going to be doing this K-5. So, we had purchased the CKLA for literacy. And right now, we're using the iReady program, and that's what we've been using in the past. It's approved as a measure that we can use. The issue that we're running into with iReady is it really only assesses the content, and it doesn't really assess like the fluency and the speed and how students are actually reading, because iReady is fully online. So we're finding with moving to the requirements for Science for Reading, what the M-Class program does is, number one, it gives us another way to assess. So not just on the computer, but there's like a quick 1-minute assessment that teachers will do with their students where they can, students read a passage for like 1 minute and they time them, they see how many errors they got, and they actually can assess, a real person is listening to the kid to assess how they're reading, because what we do know is, if kids are reading on iReady, which I'm not saying iReady is a bad program at all, because it does meet some of the purposes. But if they're reading on it, nobody's really checking their fluency. And really, we're just checking to see, are they able to read it and get through the content? So this would give us another way to assess the kids that would actually involve the teachers doing like a quick, like I said, 1 minute to gather more information. It also then gives us something to do as the intervention. And that's something that iReady is missing. So iReady, they'll assess and they'll say, this kid is on this grade level, this is how they did on the assessment, but it doesn't really give us tools and things to implement as far as the intervention. And that's kind of like the piece where we have, a large number of needs, and as we're looking at what the requirements are for moving forward with the science of reading, as well as trying to align, because right now iReady's not really aligned with CKLA. This is, M-Class is also created by Amplify, so there's more of a connection. So that's pretty much the basis of it, is that we don't really feel like iReady is helping us get down to the root of those things that we're trying to do, trying to figure out with our kids about how we need to instruct them. And then the third piece that M-Class offers is the professional development that goes along with it. So in a nutshell, it will offer us a different way to assess our kids K through 5. And then it will also then give us a plethora of intervention tools that we can use based on how students are doing on those assessments, and also professional development. So that's all included in the quote that we have here tonight.
I do have a question. So, do they have a program that does both, or, I mean, you have iReady, but how long is the contract with iReady?
iReady, we have one more year.
Okay.
So we'll still use iReady at the middle school level next year. And it might be appropriate for some elementary kids, but we have more elementary students in K-5 that would need something more.
So once the contract is over with iReady, will you have to go and get another contract to give you the same services that you're getting from iReady on top of this one? Or does this amplify, do they have access to do both in the software?
For
what you're
K-8,
getting, what you're getting from iReady, and if you get this right here, is it going to do both? When this contract ends, when iReady ends, are you gonna renew iReady even though it's not giving you what you need, or is there something else? Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, I just wanna know the plan, like, for the future. Where is it going?
I got you.
Why we,
Once the iReady contract is over, it's going away.
Okay.
M-Class will now do both in the
Okay.
one system.
Okay.
And so we're missing that fluency piece, and another great thing about this also is M-Class is done through Amplify also,
Okay.
which is
Alright.
CKLA. And
Okay.
so when we give those assessments and teachers have to intervene, it aligns to the Tier 1 curriculum that we have also. iReady is disjointed, like
Okay.
that's a separate thing on its own. And like Ms. Delafleur said, it's not that iReady is bad. When the state put their list out and we went through those things for our district, we saw that M-Class encompasses all those things, because sometimes, it's hard to intervene for a student and you don't know how. But M-Class says, Shay's struggling with long vowels. This is what you can do to help her. So
Okay.
once iReady is gone, it's gone. And we didn't want to just throw it away, so we still can use it right now, with this year, and it's still our primary
Okay.
at the middle school for 6-8.
Okay.
And then eventually, we know we have to have something for middle through high school according to the state, the law
Okay.
with intervention, but it's gonna go away.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I need. Oh, okay.
Any other questions?
I'm done.
All right. So can we have a motion to approve the agreement with Amplify?
So moved.
Mr. Fluka, can we roll call, please?
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks?
Yeah.
Mrs. Granger?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Next, new business line items, subject A, 2025-26 school year academic calendar revisions. Superintendent recommends the approval of revisions to the 2025-2026 academic calendar to align spring break with the other schools in our Heights CTE consortium. Any discussion regarding this?
What date is that gonna be?
It's just moving it up 1 week. I'll pull it up. There's actually, hold on. It would be the week of March 23rd. So just for the public, we have a consortium that we're in, the Heights CTE Consortium, that's with Warrensville Heights, Shaker Heights, and why am I forgetting the other one? Shaker Heights, Warrensville.
Cleveland Heights.
Cleveland Heights. Okay, they're all Heights. And we didn't really coordinate, and we were the only school out of those 4 that had our spring break on a different week, and it causes problems for our busing. It causes problems for our students in CTE, because if we're out a week, then all the students who come to us don't have classes that week, and then our students are going to miss a week. So moving forward, we said we would do our big breaks all at the same. We would have those communication ahead of time for like winter break, spring break. But with moving the spring break, in order to make the 184 work days, we also had to add another work day for teachers. So I did have conversations with MOST and MHTA that we would add that day on in August, because originally they were supposed to come back on Tuesday, August 12th, so we would move that to Monday, August 11th. And then the other change for the calendar would be students' last day of school would be on May 22nd, which is the Friday before Memorial Day. And we would use that extra,
This year?
no, for 2026.
year. Oh, okay.
We would use that extra day for doing some PD, you know, or have them work in their classroom. We'll work those things out, but in order to make it enough work days, we had to either add a day for the teachers on the front end or the back end.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope, not for me.
All right, so can we have a motion to approve the revisions for the calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sluka, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Granger?
Yes.
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Cheeks?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Next is resolution. Resolution directing the treasurer to notify administrators and other employees appointed under ORC Section 331902 of the expiration date of contracts pursuant to our ORC Section 331902. The superintendent recommends the adoption of Resolution 2523, resolution directing the treasurer to notify administrators and the other employees appointed under ORC Section 331902 of the expiration date of contracts pursuant to ORC Section 339-02D4. Can I have a motion or any discussion regarding this resolution?
No, not for me.
Okay, seeing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Sluka, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Cheeks?
Yes.
Ms. Granger?
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell?
Yes. Okay. Next is resolution number 2525, resolution declaring transportation by school conveyance impractical for certain identified students and offering to provide payment in lieu of transportation. Okay. Mr. Sluga, can you give us a little background about this one?
Yes. When people or students are traveling out of the district to other schools, we are required to provide transportation to those districts that are within 30 miles. But sometimes it's not practical, or I'm sorry, within 30 minutes, not 30 miles. It's not practical to do that transportation because it takes a longer time, or the routes are, we can't do within that time frame. So we can deem them impractical based on timing the routes, and then we would offer them payment in lieu of, which is actually paying them, the parents for alternative transportation to those schools. But we have to approve that and identify, we've already identified those students.
Okay. Any discussion regarding Mrs. Luca's comments? Can we have a motion to approve resolution number 25-25?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Sluka, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Ms. Granger,
Yes.
Ms. Cheeks,
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell.
Yes. All right. Next is the consent calendar. The superintendent recommends approval of all consent agenda items. Employment is specifically conditioned on and subject to successful background checks, receipts, and final administrative review of all application records and receipt of all necessary documentation. And Ms. Delafleur, is this letter?
B through H.
Okay. Any discussion regarding B through H? Seeing none, can we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Slipper, can I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks,
Yes.
Mrs. Granger,
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell.
Trying to get out of here.
All right. We are now at point of our meeting for public participation. If anyone would like to come up and speak to the board, this is your time to do so. All right. Seeing that we don't have any public participation, we're going to move into executive session for number one. A motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Luca, can we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mrs. Granger,
Yes.
Mrs. Cheeks,
Yes.
Mr. Blackwell.
Yes. We are now in executive session at 7:07. Thank you all for coming out.